We, the Indian Society of Heating, Refrigerating and Air Conditioning Engineers, ISHRE, stand tall in the Indian industry with over 10,000 professionals as members and almost an equal number of student members. Founded in 1981 and headquartered in Delhi, we operate from chapters and sub-chapters spread all over India, bringing our entire industry together. Individuals become members of our society according to their professional and academic standings. Our roadmap of the future looks very bright, with thousands of new members joining this technical society every year and bringing in a fresh outlook to our industry intelligence. ISHRE disseminates knowledge through its technical committees, which consists of some of the best minds of our industry. It publishes technical books, newsletters, and a prestigious journal, distributing the wealth of knowledge to all its members. Working with government departments, ISHRE helps formalize industry codes and standards. ISHRE promotes research by offering financial support to student members to carry out groundbreaking work in technology, systems, and processes. Our educational wing, ISHRE Institute of Excellence, organizes training programs and workshops to help members enhance their skill sets. Our specially designed certification programs under ICP, that is, ISHRE Certified Professional, empower professionals to always be in step with the prevailing technology. Specially designed courses for technicians are offered to meet the ever-increasing demand for a skilled workforce. ISHRE organizes exhibitions, conferences, panel discussions, and product presentations throughout the country. We organize the industry's largest international exposition in South Asia, Acrex India, to showcase the cutting-edge technology, innovation, and provide a platform for closer interactions amongst the decision makers in the industry. The Acrex exhibition is now growing from HVAC&R show into BFA, Build Fair Alliance. This brings together several allied shows connected with the building services industry, all at one location. Our chapters organize several other popular events like AgriConf in Delhi, Raycon in Kolkata, Symposia in Mumbai, TechFest in Goa, and many more. We are committed to provide training and career guidance to our student members through seminars, lectures, quiz contests, and site visits. AQuest, a prestigious quiz competition organized by ISHRE to catalyze the transformation of the budding engineering professional. ISHRE provides a platform to potential employers to select student members for careers in HVAC and our industry at the ISHRE Job Junction. Young minds are made aware of the need for saving power, clean air, and sustainability. The K-12 initiative of ISHRE focuses attention on school students' development to inculcate a scientific fervor and help develop them into responsible citizens. Speedy information is imperative to keep moving forward in this hyper-connected digital age. Searcher, a specifically designed search engine, is now available, which allows access to a well-catalogued database on HVACR and building services industry with just a few clicks. ISHRE cooperates with various national and international bodies, industry, governments, academia, think tanks, to put the concept of sustainability, environmental protection, and energy efficiency and conservation to enter and explore the universe of the Indian HVACR industry. Log on to ishre.in. that unfolds a panorama of information. Let us engineer a sustainable future together through ISHRE.
Girish, can we have the flyer, please? The main one, Girish.
Sorry, you can start with the disclaimer.
Okay. So welcome one and all to this distinguished lecture series. As you may know, we have organized this as part of our Learn from the Experts series, in which today we have Mr. Shekhar Ram, a distinguished and senior speaker who is going to address us. Before I say a few words about Sir, I just want to read through the disclaimer for today. So the information that is provided in this webinar is for general information purpose only. While we try to keep the information up to date and correct, there are no representation or warranties, express or implied, about the completeness, accuracy, reliability, suitability, or availability with respect to the information, product, services, or related graphics contained in this webinar. Any use of this information is at your own risk. We do not guarantee or declare that the information on the webinar is accurate and correct. We are not responsible, nor can we be held liable for any errors or hiatuses in the content of the webinar. With respect to the speaker, the views expressed in the presentation made at the webinar or other webinars are those of the speaker, not necessarily of ISHRE. Presentations or presence does not constitute an endorsement or the vendor or the speaker's view, products, or services. So today's distinguished lecture series today, the speaker is Mr. Shekhar Ram. Just to give a brief introduction, he has completed his education in BE Mechanical Engineering from University of Madras and PSG College of Technology, Coimbatore. He is a proprietor at Sigma Solutions, Coimbatore since 2011. And prior to this, he had leading roles at multinationals in Muscat and Dubai, which included Siemens and Johnson & Controls. He also led corporate organizations in India such as Bartley Boy, Siemens, Bartley Boy, the refrigeration air conditioning division, and Siemens, the building technologies division. The last position held in Dubai is the Regional Learning and Development Manager, Middle East of Johnson Controls. Other qualifications include member of ASHRE since 1989, member of ISHRE since 1989, Microsoft Certified Professional Networking, founder member, Society of Indian Engineers in UAE, lead accredited professional O&M, past president of ISHRE Coimbatore chapter, ISHRE distinguished lecturer, prepared documentation for IIE, advanced engineering diploma course comprising of over 5,500 slides and ICP service comprising over 800 slides. He's also been a speaker in various ISHRE and ASHRE forums, including ACREC seminars. From 2011 till date, he has completed over 36,000 training hours, covering 1,025 people, spanning across 7 countries and India. Welcome you, sir. And just before I hand over we have a small note from our sponsors today, Veda Intech India Private Limited. Could I request Mr. Shravan Kumar to start his presentation, please?
Yeah. Is my screen visible, sir?
Just starting, sir. 1 second. Yes, it is visible.
Hello, everyone. A very good evening to all distinguished members of ISHRE gathered for the online technical session on IBMS and IoT. I myself, Shravan Kumar, representing Veda Intech India Private Limited. shall I have a brief presentation on our company? But before that, we would like to thank ISHRE for conducting technical programs on various topics and sharing the much needed knowledge to all of us, like manufacturers, contractors, and designers. We also would like to thank Mr. Shekhar Ram on today's for giving the distinguished lecture on IVMS and IoT. In fact, we are very much privileged and honored to share Shekhar sir's knowledge and experience today in the form of his lecture. So we'll start with the presentation. So this will be a very brief presentation. So first we'll start with about Vedant Tech. We are established in 2014. So we started with duct manufacturing, and slowly we have increased our product range, and now we are a single stop for a complete range of HVAC distribution products. So we have right now we have 2 units. One unit is in Andhra Pradesh state. It is very near to Bangalore. It's 60 kilometers. So another second unit is in Hyderabad, Telangana state. So here in the unit 1, we have a total built-up area of 20,000 square meter. In that shop floor itself is a 5,000 square meter shop floor. In unit 2, we have around 5,000 square meter of built-up area. So total our team strength is 50 staff, experienced engineers and supervisors, and 250 workmen. So especially the reason why we located here in the Andhra Pradesh state, near to the Bangalore city. Reason is actually this is a very rural, drought affected area. So in order to provide some rural empowerment and rural employment, we have put our, established our first unit here. So we are proud, we can say that we have given employment for around 200 people here. So going to the next slide. This is our machinery. So only major machinery has been put here. So we have CNC machines which are networked actually. So these are operated with the help of software. So these machines are used for the highest level of accuracy. So all our products are manufactured in CNC machines. And there are several sheet metal processing machines. So we have in-house photocoating system and pop injection. And all processes we do in-house. We don't outsource it. So these are the major machineries which we use for sheet metal manufacturing. So these are the softwares we use. For fabrication, we use the software, and for silencer design. And even we have the terminal, VAV terminal calibration setup for testing and calibration of VAVs. And we have advanced 3D softwares and CFD analysis softwares. So all our products, we design in 3D and we analyze them, and then we go for design validation. So we are a ISO certified company. So ISO 9001 2015 certified company. We are certified by TUV. So we start with the product portfolio. As you can see here in this slide, we manufacture all shapes of ducts. So we can see in the rectangular duct, we manufacture in galvanized steel, mild steel, stainless steel, and spiral also we have spiral round duct, flat oval duct. In the flat oval itself, double wall duct also we have. So we also manufacture this liquid tight welded duct, especially for battery manufacturing, clean room application, or wherever the dehumidification requirement is there. So for that specific purpose also we manufacture ducts and completely welded joints. And we have this duct accessories as well, cross duct attenuators, wall acoustic panel, and other duct fittings for AHUs, canvas duct, and access doors for kitchen exhaust system. So all varieties of ducts we manufacture. So these ducts are manufactured in CNC machines. So highest accuracy, dimensional accuracy, and parallel and everything that is taken care of. So next these are VAV terminals. So as you can see here, we have different shapes of VAV terminals, suitable for all shapes of ducts. So this is the first generation VAV. So later on, we have developed this complete suit to that shape model VIPs with several options like control panel inside, control panel outside, and also VAV installed inside that with all the required transition elements and everything placed inside that. So these are very, I can say, very easy to erect, and connectivity issues will not be there, and the quality will be more, and even the leakages will be very less. So in this VAV also we have multiple damper options also in circular damper, aerofoil damper. Depending upon the requirement, we can have both options. And main our VAVs function with the high accuracy sensor. As you can see here, our sensor will have a multi-point pickup, signal pickup, and center averaging type sensor. So this ensures that 100% accuracy by sensing the inlet air volume. So this sensor is very much compatible with all types of controllers. So this is the VAV terminals. So different shapes of VAV terminals. And going to the next slide, these are the dampers. So round damper, in damper also several shapes, round and rectangular. So each product has unique feature. In round damper, we have this edge folding for better strength. In rectangular damper, we have this PDF flanges for similar to that flanges for easy connectivity. And even we have the hybrid version that body is GI and the blade is aluminum. So GI body is for better strength and rigidity. Aluminum aerofoil blade is for smoother airflow and better volume control and less pressure loss. And similarly, backdrop temper and fire dampers also we need. And sound attenuators. These are duct silencers we need, and double skin cleaners. So these are the other GI products. And moving forward, we have this aluminum products. So here we have complete grills and diffusers family. So like square diffusers, rectangular diffusers, round diffusers. So each product will have a unique feature, very unique and exclusive to that only. You can see that even slot diffuser has a spring-loaded fixer mechanism. It is a damper mechanism inside the spigot. And even for the grills, we have the spacers for the blade spacing. And for square diffuser, we have the core locating pins and spring-loaded mechanism. So each of our product has very different features, very unique to our product. So with this I conclude my presentation. Once again, thank you, Shreya, for giving this opportunity.
Yeah. Good evening, all. This is Nagarjuna Reddy here. Can I speak for 2 minutes, if you permit? I wanted to just say a few words about our whatever our colleague Mr. Shravan has presented. No, can I have a time?
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Good evening. Good to see all of you. I think digital platform. Now I think this is the trend we are continuing, and also I should thank the program teams of CWC. I think n number of programs they are being conducted for in spite of even pandemic, but never the day without program. I am not seeing any day. That is a good initiative taken by CWC program team. I should thank the program team. And in addition to the whatever our colleague Mr. Shravan Kumar has briefed, just I wanted to say a few words. Actually, 2014 when we have started our the manufacturing unit, we have started only with the duct. Now today we are complete range of products manufacturing. We have established almost 2 years before itself, and this is all due to our the industry designers and customers. Their encouragement made us to develop complete range of air distribution products. Now you name it from double skin plenum to air terminal outside, complete range of manufacturing in-house facility. And we have a very big facility near Bangalore, that is 90 kilometers, I think is already briefed. That is almost 3 acres plant. So, and we are also have one more plant in Hyderabad, which is also majorly we do the ducting there. Majority products will be manufactured in India. And we have also proven in the past, I think 2 years or 3 years, the day we have started, and we ensured the quality and the timely deliveries, and whatever whoever trusted our customers, definitely we never let them down in terms of the quality as well as the on-time deliveries. So, and also being, I was there in the contracting for long years, the challenges what we faced in the sites, because nowadays I think the site labors, quality labors, means skilled labor availability is diminishing day by day. So keeping that in mind, majority of the product we are ensuring the site work minimized for everything. VAV box, you name it, everything there is a unique feature. Definite all products, but very simple. I'm not saying that this is a great technology we have used. Very simple, basic things, whatever is required, we ensured all those things are captured in our all products, every products. And recently, one more product we have. Mr. Stravan, can you just play the video of that mixing damper and butterfly damper together, wherever slot diffuser you are fixing in gypsum area?
Yes,
So you don't want to provide any hit and miss damper. So hit and miss damper we can provide, but hit and miss damper 50% occupy even if it's 100% open. That's why the velocity will increase and you have to give the more length dampers per CFM. Let us say 100 CFM if you give there 1 meter, example I'm telling. But in our case, we can give same 1 meter, 200 CFM per running meter. So I think we will play that. Just with that, I will conclude. I think I don't want to take more time. So thanks for everybody. Just play, Shravan, just
Yes,
play
sir.
that
Play.
video. Can you play?
Yes, sir.
After that, you play the VAV boxes of both rectangular to rectangular and flat oval and spiral. All these three videos, just you play.
Yes, sir.
Each will be maybe 1 minute. That's all. It will not take much time. It is not clearly visible, I think. All can all be visible, the damper operating from the slot diffuser with the screwdriver.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yeah. That is the one for installation. You don't need to put screws at all. That is a spring loaded clamp will be there. It is easy to install. There is a separate framework for the spring to remove the center core. Even how many times you remove and reinstall, it will not get replaced. It is simple, but we ensured this was the challenge when I come across when we were there in the contracting field. Shravan, go ahead with VAV boxes. This is the both sides TDF flanges, inbuilt cone piece is there within inside, and minimized heights, because nowadays architectural height is challenging. Because keeping that in mind, we have developed VAV box. This is concealed panel with elliptical duct VAV. Suit to duct. This is option is available, suit to duct option. You
That's it.
That's circular flat oval, circular VAV concealed.
Circular and I think.
Spiral circular.
Right now I have only pictures. Sir.
Okay, no problem. Okay. Yeah, I think hope.
Nagarjuna sir, I think we'll start. We'll continue with the sir. I think you've put yourself on mute. We've got a couple of requests also to start. So just before I hand it over to Shekhar sir, I would request to hello.
Yep.
So I would just request you to post your questions in the chat box, and we will answer them at the end of the session.
Okay.
You can go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Bangalore chapter, for this opportunity, and to Veda EdTech for supporting one of the primary objectives of ISHRE, that is knowledge dissemination. Let us start with our topic of the day. Are you able to see the screen now?
Yes, sir. We can see.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so today the topic is IoT in IBMS. That's the core concept of this topic. We will take it step by step as it has evolved to this stage. There's been a long journey in the field of automation and communication. They are intermingled with each other. So a little bit on the communication technologies, how it has evolved from a very substandard level to what it is today, which is a very highly sophisticated level. Those are the steps of automation, evaluation, and then we go to the IoT, how it has helped, how it is helping in the HVAC industry and in the building services, and the way we are moving ahead with all these technologies available today. What is our way forward? These are the things that we are going to see in the next whatever time is available for us. So communication technologies, it all started many centuries ago with this is how trade and industry started mingling together. Somebody produced, somebody had to sell, somebody had to make profits. Let us say this was the start of the human greed for making more than what he requires. Okay. So that is how it all started. And at some stage you see the carrier pigeon. This is in the AD period. These were in the BC period. And then all this started calculating the profits, and then we wanted more profits. We wanted to do trading to other countries. It started moving along in those directions. A very significant change took place. This is what we call it the Renaissance period, the late 18th century to the beginning of throughout the 19th century. We had a significant shift when electricity was introduced. So these gentlemen, Volta, Faraday, Ampere, and Ohms, they gave us a very big dimension to what is modern day communication. The very first camera was invented way back in 1816, more than 200 years ago. Telegram was a significant change that took place. A computer, a mechanical computer those days was introduced in 1833. And to my personal suggestion, this Wheatson's network, which we have studied in our 7th, 8th grade, has contributed too much to the automation that we do to even with sophisticated electronic controllers today. This is the basic principle of automation, in my opinion, the Wheaton's network. Bridge resistance, and then you know what it is all about. I can't go into the details now because of time. Then the facsimile, just a copier, was introduced in 1843. Then Kirchhoff's made those famous electrical laws. Semiconductor in 1874. This was a mechanical device to start communication, type letters. We have used this during the beginning of my career. We have used this device. Many people who are witnessing today's scene might not have even have seen such a device. And then slowly moving on, we had these methods of transportation, automobile, the ship, you know, the people, the old people, it was introduced in the BC period. So they knew the principle of density and buoyancy for transportation. They introduced the ship, and that could put sailors on to the different oceans and the discoveries of new land. So this is how transportation started taking place. And then Alexander's visit to BC, that is how it happened, you know, because of the ship. Then air conditioner was introduced in 1902. Very, very important invention in the 20th century. The diodes came up later, the telex machine. We have used this, my contemporaries who started our career way back 40 years ago. We have used this device to communicate, very different from what it is today. And then the transistor, pager. This was a very major development in the field of communication and automation, the IC chip in 1959. Almost 10 years after that, the first man was put on moon. By the way, the Apollo 11, which put man on moon, had just an 8-bit processor. Can you imagine doing processing with an 8-bit processor today? It sounds almost primitive, but the rocket was sent and man was put on moon with an 8-bit processor. And then multitasking took place, and you had multiple circuits and so on and so forth with the microprocessor. 1960 was the invention of internet, and immediately after that, within 9 years, they could establish communication between the eastern and the western coast. This was by the Department of Defense in the US. And then the email was introduced 1971, Ethernet in 73, the mobile phone in 73 again. And then the home PC was introduced in 74, laptop in 81, the smartphone in 1992. You can see the devices are getting smaller and smaller. With smaller surface area, more intelligence was packed. Today, we are in this era called the Internet of Things. That was just towards the end of the 20th century. So with such an advancement in communication, we were able to do a lot of services, automating a lot of services on from a single computer. You can see here all the building services that are listed here. We were able to capture this, control, monitor from a single workstation. It did not stop with a person sitting in the workstation and trying to do all these things. Automation took place at this level. The person who was just they were only doing a supervisory activity here at the workstation. And then the remote workstations were possible. And then today we are able to see the entire project from a mobile phone. That is the level of advancement that has taken place with development of technology. So if all these have to be put together in a building, we needed communication. All these devices, as we say, are not produced from a single source. They are taken from different sources. They have to be transported across countries in different modes of transportation. All these, the slides that we saw in the past, in the just 3-4 slides, were part of it, except perhaps the carrier pigeon. Right? Everything we are using today in today's intelligent building, a smart building as we call it. Now, going back to the evolution of automation, just a couple of decades ago, we had window air conditioners that used thermostats, which used the physical principle of two metals, which had different levels of coefficient of expansion. You can see here a compressor has made contact here, and a compressor has lost its contact because of the different levels of coefficient of expansion. This was the start of starting and stopping a compressor using a bimetallic thermostat. Even 20 years ago, these thermostats were in use in the industry. And then we had analog controls, a slightly more sophisticated level of automation. We had a single temperature sensor. Whenever you had a sensor, it had to be connected to a controller, and then it was driving a valve. You can see here a single sensor means a single controller. A single controller could drive only one actuated device. It could not drive multiple actuated devices. but it could actuate one device, one parameter, one controller, one control parameter, one control device. So when we had to do humidity and temperature, those days the analog controllers had certain shortfalls because a controller could be connected only to one control device. So you could not compare the demand from cooling and the demand for dehumidification to drive a cooling valve. Those days they drove a heating valve whenever the RH increased, either a electric heater or an electric control valve supplying more hot water to the conditioned space. This was a wastage of energy, but that was the only way it was possible those days because of analog technology, because one controller could handle only one parameter. Okay. These devices, we used to call them as peripheral devices because they are located in the field. These were located on the panel, inside the panel. These were field devices, input devices, output devices. You can see here peripheral devices, sensors, actuated devices, output devices. A panel those days was such a complicated device because there were too many relays, too many controllers, too many complications, timers, this, that, and the other. The panel was such a complicated component of the automation process. Then we moved on to thermostats, the analog thermostat, which is a sophisticated controller and a sensor put together. We call this as a thermostat. The thermostat moved on to the digital technology. Today we have wireless devices which can control even a ceiling fan. Today we have advanced to that level. And then we came to what is called as the DDC system, the direct digital control. This was multi-processing. You can see here, these are electronic devices. A lot of algorithms could be written here. In a single controller, you could do multiple levels of automation. A temperature and a humidity sensor could both dictate. That means dehumidification demand or a cooling demand could both dictate the movement of a single control valve, because you can write if, that, and so on and so forth into the processors here. These were DDC systems, which we had a high level of sophistication. Things looked very, very nice at the stage towards the end of last century when these were introduced. You could see here efficient reports, global commands, audit trails, event logs, alarm routing, remote operation. All these were built up into the hierarchy here, shown here. It looked very nice. It looked very nice. And then there was certain situation. You can see here, these controllers, they look very much alike. So there is some amount of, you can see here, there is a red line connecting these controllers. And then there is a supervisory controller which assimilated data from this level onto the screen here, which was the user interface, Okay, this way we call this as proprietary protocols. The controllers looked and felt similar. That means they belong to the same family. And then what happened? There is a flip side when this happened. What are the flip side? Here, whenever the client wanted to expand to a project or when they wanted immediate service, they had to depend on this single vendor. This created a situation of vendor dependency and cost escalations as and when the vendor had to go for expert, who had to go to the same vendor because technology was inside a silo. They were able to dictate the market and they could put any price. That was something. And then this cabling, this is proprietary cabling, which all the way took up to the management. It was taken up to the management station. That was a complicated affair. Very sophisticated compared to those days, but when the evolution took place, this looked vendor dependent. This was not a very healthy system when network technology progressed inside the building. So what happened now, that industry was forcing the controls manufacturers, the automation, to go for open protocols. That means these controllers which looked similar could be changed to different types of controllers because they could talk to each other. They did not talk only to the same type of controllers. These controllers had basic, what we call this as BACnet or open protocol. This layer disappeared because the IP network, these were able to sit on the IP network, the building network itself. They took addresses from the IP network, the customer network. And then because of the open protocol, an existing system could communicate to a new system from a different vendor. And the interoperability part started getting better and better. Today, a chiller manufacturer, chiller microprocessor can talk to a BMS vendor. An electrical meter manufacturer can talk to a BMS vendor through open protocol structure, and they can all sit on the IP network. That is the level of sophistication we have reached. That is the open protocol structure. A very complicated panel that you saw has been simplified to such a small panel here because of the multiple processing capability of a controller of this size. With such an invention, we were able to come from what is called as the BMS world to the IBMS world, the integrated building management system, which could handle all services of a building, whatever it is. You could also control and monitor the independent services, but you could also have interoperation between various services, which I'll explain to you in a very short while from now. And then today, what is the level of sophistication? We have gone through what is called as IoT, or Internet of Things. You can see here, there are 7 objects or devices that are revolving in the clockwise direction. And then there are 3 which are going in the opposite direction, which means that each component there are 21 such contact points on this structure, which you are seeing here. Any device could talk to any other device. That is the core concept of the Internet of Things. Here you can see a cloud using what is called as cloud technology. You are able to interact between this device to any of the 7 devices here. Any of the 3 devices could communicate with any of the 7 devices here. Okay, that is the level of sophistication we have reached today using this concept called Internet of Things. So our core discussion today is going to be on the Internet of Things and how it is used in the building industry in general and in the HVAC industry in particular. So what is Internet of Things? When we talk about Internet, we talk about connectivity amongst computers. But when we talk about Internet of Things, we talk about physical devices which has got intelligence embedded into it, software, sensors, actuators, connectivity, which enables these things. For example, a mobile phone can be connected to a computer. Today, when we are using a new SIM and just putting it into the new computer, you extract the data. If I'm logging in to pay my insurance through one agency, 10 other mails are coming from different sources and they are telling me to take an insurance from them. How is this happening? It is because of my data that is available in the cloud, which is being spread across different social media to different companies. They are all able to interact with each other and try to promote what is called as the using the Internet of Things concept. Heterogeneous objects. Homogeneous objects means objects of the same kind. Heterogeneous objects means objects of different kinds. That is a computer or a mobile phone or any other object, which they can all be. Today we are having television, which can use the internet, and you can view, this OTT platform, which has come today to a very great extent because of the lockdown period. Intelligence, computing capabilities, a unique identifier and communication abilities with devices that can be both inanimate or living. What does that mean? Living objects. I mean, if a farmer, if a poultry developer has got he has got cattle, there is a milk producing dairy farm. They have got 10,000 cows and other objects that can give milk. They can tag them, they can count them, and they can see where they are located, where they are grazing, which field they are grazing, and they can track them all. That is living objects. Even if suddenly when you're watching a cricket match, they tell you today we are having 37,286 visitors. Each and every person who is using this tag and entering this, it is all counted and the data is available. Living objects. Inanimate means if you're having a hospital, for example, the number of stretchers, the number of wheelchairs, they are all inanimate objects. Those can be tracked using this technology. And inanimate or living objects, vehicles of different sizes, smartphones, home appliances, cameras, so on and so forth. All these are traveled into a cloud structure. They are traveling into a cloud structure. The process is autonomous. They can talk to each other using the cloud platform with very little human intervention. They can talk to each other or even without human intervention. That is the main concept of Internet of Things. So using artificial intelligence that makes anything virtually anything smart. And then these are the 4 building blocks of IoT: artificial intelligence, connectivity, sensors, and small devices. Of course, you can't do any automation without sensors. What has to be controlled has to be measured. That is the reason why we have sensors in the loop. So all these 4 building blocks are responsible for what we call as the Internet of Things. These are the key features. So this particular slide is of interest. It says anything, any device, anyone, anybody, no restriction, anyone, anybody, any service, any business, any path, any network. Okay, you can see here dotted lines. That means they are not physically linked, but they are logically linked. Any place, anywhere, anytime, any context, is not defined by time. All this is part of IoT. So very, very interesting concept that they have described here to convey to you what IoT means. So let us take the example of IoT in the hospitality industry. One industry we are taking this as an example. Remember, this is a hotel room. You can see this. I will explain to you what all this means using IoT technology. Okay, front desk. So when this person checks in, a small amount of data is gathered from this person. It need not be a physical check-in. He can, while booking his room, he can give these data via the internet, so that the information of the guest is already available at the time of check-in itself. You can see here via social media interaction prior to check-in also it can be done. So his physical presence is required, of course, and then a card key is encoded and given to him. It gives access to the elevator, dining, gym, pool, shopping, car parking, guest room choices. All this are captured because the data is available with the hotel software. The moment he goes into the guest room, what happens automatically? The HVAC temperature set point goes from standby of 27 to the comfort level of 24 or 25. That is what he feels comfortable, he or she feels comfortable at. It is automatic. The lights are on. The blinds are open to allow sunlight. The lights are on. And as soon as the lights are on, and the moment, the next best thing that would happen in this world is Wi-Fi connection. So that has happened, so that he is able to interact with this computer, and he is able to start doing his work before he settles down for the evening. He has his favorite channel. He is watching the news on some people shouting at each other, as is the common practice now with any news channel. And then you see the mini bar open. He has a cup of coffee or tea before he goes to bed, cold coffee or cold tea, of course. And then the wake up alarm is set, because depending upon his time of meeting, the shower temperature is automatically adjusted. The coffee bar, his coffee maker starts on, makes his coffee. And then before he gets dressed up, the order from the app is going to the chef. And then his breakfast order is done. His favorite seat is also booked. And then he has a view to the swimming pool or to the beach, depending upon the hotel in which he stays. He sits, he has his breakfast, and then he goes. That is the level of sophistication IoT can give. And that is the, as far as the administration and maintenance is concerned, asset management is a major portfolio of IoT. They can track the beds, the bed sheets, the soap contents, the liquid soap, and so on and so forth. All this can be tracked and kept. Then information to the banquet can be given, that today there is a marriage that is going to take place. Then I expected number of guests are so many. The guests can be tracked because of the tag that is issued to them. How many guests are there? So the billing is easy. Predictive maintenance of all services, HR recruitment, people going in and going out, everything can be done using IoT. It's a very sophisticated tool that allows for the complete hospitality industry. You can extend this concept to the hotel, to healthcare field, or to any field of your choice, including clean rooms. The concept is absolutely overwhelming and all encompassing. Right. So we are now moving away from what in the past, about 20 years ago, we were talking about air conditioning control. Today, we are talking about building control. When we speak about control, we are not just speaking about the automatic operation of the various devices. We move over from automation of devices to optimization of energy. So that is the next best thing that can happen with such technologies that are available today. So you can see here, this is future, this is already coming. We have got automobile manufacturers who have joined the bandwagon of electrical vehicles today. In India, we are driving towards a lower carbon footprint as a government. And then we are also promoting EVs. And then this is going to be a common feature. Depending upon the amount of current you draw, you will be billed by the building maintenance staff, or by the hotel industry, whichever and wherever you're using this common facility. So all these things are coming in at a very fast pace. Now let us take the example of an activity that interlinks various services. just not the HVAC. Okay, what is happening now? There is an employee who is wanting to work on a holiday, predetermined holiday. There is something which is very urgent that had to be attended, and he has to go to the office to get this thing done. So he comes, he rushes, and he tries to access this elevator. Unfortunately, the access card on a holiday does not permit him to use this elevator. So it says that your card, no, this is not your access point. So what it means is that he is not visiting any of the other offices. He is not given permission. So he moves to the next elevator. He knows that this is his regular elevator. You can see here, the access is given only to his level, not to the other levels. So he cannot be loitering around trying to sneak into the other people's office, which is quite important because of the high level of industrial espionage that takes place in today's world. Then he comes out of the elevator. This is a floor plan. That is the elevator. He comes out of this elevator. The moment he steps out of the elevator, what happens next? So you have first the level of access is integrated with the elevator movement. Then the elevator, after he steps out of the elevator, you can see here the corridor lights are lit. So the lighting system is automated. Again, when the corridor lights are lit, he is given access. The light in the pantry and the light in his or her cabin is also activated. You don't see lights on the other rooms. So access is given only to his room and to the pantry and of course to the toilet. So you see the elevator is integrated, access control card is integrated to the elevator and to the lighting system. And then the moment he gets into the room, the temperature set point goes to his comfort level, which is 23 degrees centigrade. You can see the level of inter-services that is getting integrated just because technology is available today. So previously, this was not the case. Somebody had to adjust his room thermostat, this, that, and the other. So this is a very, very common occurrence that can be planned if the investor is willing to provide, of course, the amount of money that is required for such a level of automation. Okay, so this is one which is interrelating the services. Next, we move on to some energy optimization. I will take up through a couple of slides to tell you how it is done with the standard BMS, and then how it can be done in a much more sophisticated level using the microprocessor of the chiller, and then how analytics using IoT or any other platform of a similar nature can enhance the optimization. So 3 steps we will take one after the other. So the first step is the common automation process in the BMS field. Let us say in this building, there are 5 equally sized chillers with 1,000-ton capacity each. That means the building has an installed capacity of 5,000 tons. That is how it turned out. The sequencing is done based on the increase in load. You can see at the first chiller started, then 3 started, then 2 started, 5 started, and 4 started. This number, chiller number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is decided by the chiller based on what is called as runtime totalization. It calculates the amount of run hours by each chiller, and the chiller that is starting, the next chiller that comes in, cuts in, will be the chiller that has operated the fewest hours, so that duty is shared amongst all these 5 chillers. At the end of 5 years or 4 years, you will see approximately the number of hours run by each chiller is the same. So you get a fair amount of extended period of life with the standard type of automation that is provided by the BMS. This is not in today's scenario, it is not rocket science. Every BMS vendor is expected to do this based on the common return water temperature or amount of water that is coming, delta T, this, that, and the other. Those are the intricacies of the programming part. Now, what is not happening with this level of automation is there is no consideration to the power consumed by the chiller. This is clear automation by the number of chillers that are required as the load increases or decreases. Okay, there is no consideration to the power consumed by the chiller. Okay, now let us say the building is operating on partial load. The building load is only 3,000 tons, which means that you don't require all the 5 chillers. Automatically, the BMS has dropped down the second chiller. It has reduced from 4,000, it has come down to 3,000. Now the BMS has to make a decision. At this time, all the 4 running chillers, just before the 3,000 ton mark came, the BMS has understood, let us say 3,005 tons or something like that. The chillers themselves on their own capacity control method is operating at 75% of its own load. The maximum capacity is 1000 tons, whereas it is operating at 75 capacity. So 750 tons per chiller into 4 chiller, the building is now operating at 3000 tons, which is the building load. Now the BMS has to make a decision. What the BMS will do, the BMS will take out one of the 4 chillers, because the chiller, you know, is a very big energy guzzler. Okay, so the chiller takes out one chiller from its operation and then pushes the remaining 3 chillers to 1000 tons. This is the next step of automation. So 3 chillers are now operating at 100 tons again to produce 3000 tons, apparently to optimize energy. We are still not looking at the energy consumed by the chiller. Okay, this is based on the capacity control methods, based on the standard method of doing automation. Now what happens? Now we are going into the next step. Instead of just doing the automation based on the capacity control or 3 chillers at 100% capacity will consume less power compared to 4 chillers at 75% capacity. Without making that assumption, we are now trying to interact with the chiller vendor. That is the next step. Chiller vendor, in their catalog, they have given this table. Okay, they are giving this table. We are not looking at the table now. With the general level of automation, 3 chillers producing 1000 tons each, working at 100% capacity, would I'm giving it is a would consume 1800 kilowatt, okay, to produce 3000 tons at the rate of 0.6 kilowatt per ton. This is the cataloged value of the chiller manufacturer. Okay, right. Instead of that, if the BMS vendor and the chiller vendor had interacted a little bit, they are now going further deep into the automation process. They're interacting on this table. The chiller manufacturer, every chiller manufacturer for every particular model has got what is called as a soft spot. The kilowatt per ton goes to a very low value compared to the other percentages. Okay, this is 100% load. You can see here in this chiller, in this particular example, at 80%, the chiller is consuming 0.55 kilowatt per ton. And at 75% it consumes at 0.57 kilowatt per ton. This is the cataloged value of the chiller manufacturer. So now the BMS manufacturer and the chiller manufacturer have interacted a little bit. They have gone to a next level of automation, and they say that no, it is not advisable for you to work with 3 chillers at 100% capacity. If you operate 4 chillers at 75% capacity, you will be consuming only 1710 tons. So when you are taking out when you are sequencing for 3000 tons, do not remove the 4th chiller. Let all the 4 chillers run at 75% capacity. This is a decision taken by an advanced level of automation. Of course, yes, advanced level of automation, I agree. But what we have done is we have looked into the cataloged value, and then based our automation scenario, the algorithms are written based on the automation scenario here. This is the second level of automation. Now let us see further more analytics how we can use. Okay, now we have a seamless integration between the chiller microprocessor and the BMS using whatever technology. Let us take the example of IoT, and then we can write algorithms based on each other's microprocessors. This is what we need. Instead of that, the standard BMS would have asked 3 chillers to work at 100% capacity. But now, because interaction has taken place, the BMS would allow the 4 chillers to work at 75% to produce 3000 tons. This is what the next second level of sophistication would have taken us for energy optimization. Now we are not stopping with that. We are doing some analytics. We are also trying to track the chiller. How we are tracking the chiller? Of course, we have, as I told you a little while ago, what has to be controlled has to be monitored. So we are putting energy meters now. Remember, these energy meters speak a very different language compared to the chiller microprocessor. These normally talk in a language called Modbus. These normally talk in a air conditioning industry ASHRAE specified standard called BACnet, the microprocessors here. And the BMS world also speaks today mostly in what is called as BACnet. Okay, so they are speaking different languages. But today, technology is enabling communication between this language background and this language background. So that is possible. And then we have this sophistication called IoT. Right. So what we are doing, we are taking the same microprocessor data, because now we are tracking the performance of the chiller. We are plotting that the cloud can plot this data one-on-one basis and then track these chillers. The actual performance is the red dotted line. This is very, very, very close to the blue line, which is given by the chiller manufacturer. Now, what is happening is that the analytics has seen that chiller 1, 2, 3, and 5 are performing in close proximity to the manufacturer given data. So whenever the BMS is doing sequencing, when the next chiller is called upon, chillers number, there is no hesitation in calling upon chiller 1, 2, 3, or 5 as the next step in chiller. No problem. So what is happening? The interaction, chiller number 4 is actually misbehaving. This is the actual performance characteristic for chiller number 4, where the actual power consumed per ton is much higher than the cataloged value. So what is the inference here? This particular chiller is a rogue chiller, is not performing according to what is desired. So the BMS, along with its analytical nature, is recorrecting itself. It is doing a self-study. It is doing online optimization. It is doing corrective measures. Advanced, it is doing online intelligence is tracking down this chiller and saying that chiller number 4, unfortunately, even though your run hours is very less, you are supposed to come in, but because your behavior is not in line with our energy optimization strategies, we are going to change this scene and we are not allowing you to do this performance. We are reporting this data to the maintenance staff automatically, and this is tracked down over a period of time, and consistently when the chiller number 4 is misbehaving in such a way, we are reporting this information to the maintenance staff, and the maintenance staff have to do the necessary corrective action, reset, and then the BMS again tracks in interaction with the energy meters and says that this performance is now within acceptable levels, and then the runtime totalization will take place. So immediately after the maintenance issue is sorted out, chiller number 4 will run for more hours compared to the other chillers to catch up with the rest of the chillers, because this is a rectified chiller. So the automation can reach the mobile phone, even though the mobile phone is located kilometers away, or if it is a hotel chain, for example, where the headquarters is in Bangalore or if the headquarters is in Bombay, the chief maintenance engineer gets to know of this and he can track this data. If the maintenance engineer at the local site is not rectifying this, he is questioned, he is answerable to the questions posed by the chief engineer. Why are you doing this? This fellow will start complaining, sir, I have asked for spares, you have not given me spares, you have not given approval. These things take place over a period of time. The project finally is looking at energy optimization and sustainability of the planet, because the technology now dictates the performance of these machines. Though there is a very heavy level of algorithms written into the programming of this project, the devices do not stop with working blindly. They start working intelligently because of the interaction that can take place between two other intelligent devices. Okay, the BMS algorithm written on the BMS controllers and the energy meters that are giving the feedback of the energy that is being consumed for every ton produced, the kilowatt consumed for every ton produced. So this interaction between two different platforms, this is a, let us say, a Modbus platform, this is a BACnet platform, they are interacting together to give, finally contributing to a climate change mitigation, to the carbon footprint and the sustainability of the planet. Everything has to be done in tandem so that we extend the life of this planet for a few more years. Now, further, what is happening is the concept of digital twin that is being spoken about. Slowly, the builders, major corporate companies are moving towards whenever they are engaging an architect, they ask for BIM, which is another. So the concept of BIM can be used. I'm showing a component here, and then it's digital twin. When we say digital twin, this is an exact replica of this component. Whatever parameters are being monitored here, these are the monitoring points. These are the actual points that can be tracked down. It is creating a digital twin. This is the physical, this is the digital. And then the link that establishes, these are the three components of a digital twin concept. So the digital twin, for example, this sophisticated drawing is now replicated here as a twin, and the parameters that have to be monitored, including the bearing temperature, so on and so forth of this rotating object, can be captured, and data can be thrown to the cloud, analytics can be performed, spares can be maintained, inventory can be reshuffled. For example, this is shown, an aircraft engine is shown here. Another factory that requires this if it is required, it can be transported within no time because of the level of tracking that can take place with respect to the actual. A complete city planning can take place today. India is now focusing on what is called as smart cities. And the smart city concept, the entire city can be planned in such a way that technologies along the digital twin concept can be. The good thing is that you can simulate. The parameters can be simulated for energy optimization and then put into place. So a very heavy simulation can take place using the BIM and the digital twin concept. This entire project architecture is transported in this twin, and the twin can be used for simulation purposes to predict the concept of the actual consumption here before the project is implemented. So a fair idea is available right at the beginning of the project conception. So that is the level of sophistication we can achieve with this technology. This is the way buildings are moving forward now. Large campuses, companies that are having branches across India, across the world, they can remotely control, monitor, and optimize energy coming from a single source. The good thing is that in these buildings, if necessary, I repeat, if necessary, field devices are put in place after the conceptualization. You can do a retrofit also, study the building, and you can see the enhancement in the performance of the building based on the retrofitting. You can go for LEED certification for existing buildings, as you know, depending upon the amount of energy optimization that an existing building has taken place. And then the same corporate, when they are going for expansion work, when they are going for new buildings, can use the concept of digital twins and incorporate these features into their new projects, so that they are so sure that this concept is functional and the technology of IoT is used for these purposes. So I had to run very fast with this presentation because it is quite late in the evening and you've had a long day. The concept of see how it is evolving. A certain amount of analysis was available in the era gone by, and then today this generation 2, what we saw, call it as intelligent semantic platforms. Artificial intelligence is the differentiator between generation 1 and generation 2. This is the artificial intelligence, the cloud technology, so on and so forth. Everything else is the same, is replicated here, except that you can use it for larger. This is a controller platform. This is a building platform. You can see here artificial intelligence. And then a certain amount, definitely we have analytics, which works here in this concept. In the future, or even today, what you can see here, the concept further enhances to generation 3, where what are the differentiators? The building does its own learning, it does its simulation. We have engagement with the end user, facility management company, and the end user. Therefore, you can see here, it is expanding by and large the life cycle of the building, which means that we use less construction material, we use less spares, we use everything that As engineers, wherever we can save, wherever we can recycle, wherever we can reuse, we have to think. I make, whenever I do a lecture or whenever I'm going to colleges, and because when I say colleges, they are the future of the world, the young people. I say this one sentence: the other professionals, the advocates, the chartered accountants, the doctors, so on and so forth, they can only follow the rules. We engineers can set the rules for energy optimization, for sustainability of the planet, for carbon footprint, for climate change. We can set the rules every single day. Whenever we are looking at small changes to our lifestyle, many of us still, there are people who keep the tap open when they are shaving. Stop that today, now. So even small little things, the amount of contribution that goes towards the sustainability of the planet, we are very clearly seeing in the last 1.5 years how nature is trying to regain her control over our greed. She's trying to say that don't be greedy, don't take everything away from me. We need nature. Nature does not require us. Remember, she is self-sustaining. We need her. So everything that can be done. So today, artificial intelligence is available, digital twin technology is available, automation is available, inter-services operations are possible. We will use this technology to sustain the life of the planet as and how much ever possible. So some years ago, the customer, the client, the investor went to the vendor and asked, we have a challenge, do you have a solution? This was what, about 20-25 years ago. Today, the scene has changed. The vendor goes to the customer and says, the solution is available, what do you want? So the concept has changed. So technology is no longer a limitation for building performance. Technology does not offer, it is the thought, how much ever you want. That is why in the previous slide I say user engagement. If the user wants this, and the other, and if the user, remember, everything comes with the cost, initial cost. It is always better to go for a high initial cost and a less running cost and a longer life cycle situation, shorter return of investment period. That is going to be the sustainability mantra for this planet. So today, this is what happens. The vendor goes and says, I have a solution. What is your challenge? Okay. So that comes to the summary of my presentation. IoT is the future. It is now. It is not later. Careful study must be done to implement the most effective applications that suit the building services. A wise blend. This is the crux of the issue, of which services we have to necessarily be hooked up to the IoT automation. Let us not put everything into this. Let us not do too many things. We could talk about big data, too much of data, an overkill of data also, which we do not use. Most of us do not know how to use the lot of features that are available in our mobile phone. For example, there are too many features. Yeah. Today, surprisingly, sometimes we use the phone for talking, isn't it? Yeah. That was the primary objective of the phone anyway. But today we are using it occasionally for talking. It has come to that stage. Do not overcook. Do not overcook. Recently, we were discussing one project as consultancy for a customer, and one of the enthusiastic salesperson was telling, we can do this, we can do this, we can do that. We can even measure the steam generated in the kitchen. I said, and after that, what are we going to do after measuring the steam? It doesn't serve any purpose. Okay, so that is we should not overcook. Yeah. Judicious use, intelligent use of IoT in buildings will enhance longevity of human life along with improved quality of life, as well as contribute to the sustainability of the planet. So judicious use, it can be used. We have to adopt technology and then concentrate on optimizing as much as possible with the various services that are inside the building. With that, and I leave you these very beautiful pictures of your wonderful city. These are some pictures of Bangalore. Bangalore team, thank you very, very much for this for this operation, for this opportunity provided. I hope this session was of use to the listeners. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Shekhar sir, for the wonderful presentation. It was really nice and very depth. detailing which is gone through and really given us a lot of inputs. Now, sir, in the chat box, there are some questions which, if you are okay, we can start.
Just a moment. Yeah. Chat box. Okay.
So you want me to read it out, sir? Or
Yeah. Please. Yeah.
yeah. So we have from a question from Satish Iyengar, sir. So need training to existing BMS vendor to use IoT in a big way. So most of the IoT sensors are being peddled by new startups. Why established players in BMS field still shying to start marketing them? So your views on this?
Okay, Satish, thank you for asking this question. We know that in the BMS world and the air conditioning world, I will ask a very simple question today. I see one name, Rajesh Sawant, who is from the BMS world. How many others are there in this today's? There are about 50-55 people attending today's session. How many other BMS vendors are attending this session? I do not know. That is the first gap. The BMS guys are experts in their domain, programming, this, that, and the other technology. Air conditioning is the major power consumer in a building. We have to accept that it is consuming 45-50%. That is a number which we have to tackle. The BMS guys talk about cloud technology, this, that, and they are able to talk about it, but they are not going in depth into the air conditioning field. The air conditioning fellow, whenever there is a problem at site, the only problem right from Tokyo to Toronto is that it is overcooling or there is less inadequate cooling. It is spoken in different languages. That is the basic problem. That's all. There is no other problem. Air conditioning, too much cooling, too less cooling, or too much heating, too less heating. What happens there? My fan is working. Don't have a problem. It is the automation that is not working. The next sentence. The third sentence, automation never works. These are the sentences that I hear, and unfortunately, it is I get very emotional when I hear this. The control system, none of the control companies are small companies. They are big, major companies investing very heavily on R&D. So where is the gap? The gap is the merger of these two. The horoscopes of these two entities have to match so that the marriage takes place. They are not able to take out their hands from their pockets to shake hands. This fellow does not want to learn. There is a problem for this guy to be trained in air conditioning, and there is a problem for this guy to. It is controls. That is the sentence used by the air conditioning engineer. It is not controls. It is my controls that is controlling the HVAC plant. Whenever the concept changes, that this gap will be filled up, and all of us will be talking automation. All of us will be talking IoT.
Very rightly said, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So the next question, sir, we have from Mr. Jayesh Jain. The ROI goes higher and higher as the delta which is left to be extracted is reducing. How do you bring technologies to make our planet greener?
Again, it goes back to the knowledge of the system. The controls guy must know what is the hydraulics behind. They must know, the controls guy must know, including pipe sizing and how to size a pump. They must know how to calculate the head. Unfortunately, the mechanical engineers themselves are facing a problem today because they are so software dependent. The moment data is fed into the program, the data is coming out of the program, a printout is taken, given to the consultant for approval. The mechanical engineer is not reading what the data is, what are the numbers behind this data. So we want to make the planet cleaner, but we are not going into the depth of the subject. Finally, it is water going through a pipe. Finally, it is air going through a duct. If you do not know what is meant by static pressure, if you do not know what is meant by head, how can any amount of technology be of help? Today, the equivalent of this in the medical field, are you able to see any doctor who is a general practitioner today? You have only experts. You have only experts. No doctor is looking at your pulse. If the doctor is looking at your pulse, rest assured he is at least 60 years old. The doctor, not the patient. Exactly the same thing is happening in our industry. We talk very, very high stuff. Finally, it is the water going through the pipe into the heat exchanger that is removing heat. We have to study that and then use this technology to ensure that the right amount of water goes to the coil. That's all. But we are not studying that. We are so dependent. I'm not at all against technology. Remember, this is my field, automation. We have to adopt technology, but we have to know the subject better.
Yes, sir. Again, sir. Then we have a question from Mr. Sriram VS.
Yes, Sriram.
Yeah. What is the reliability of wireless sensors that are being promoted by many startup companies?
See, again, startup companies, we are in touch with the other many startup companies. Startup companies, if you remember the triangle, the pyramid I had shown in one of the slides, the startup companies are focusing on the supervisory level and the graphic user interface level. They are not coming to the peripheral level and they are not coming to the automation level. They are talking about using again those technologies just to integrate the system. Now, personally, I'm not too much in favor of such an arrangement because they do not know what is happening. They can use the technology to make different electronic devices speak to each other using the technology. But what is being spoken by the electronic devices, they are not responsible. So if the startup company is engaging themselves in trying to train up their engineers who are using that, again from the IT world, if you look at it, the IT world is recruiting tons and tons of mechanical engineers, chemical engineers, so on and so forth, and they are teaching them programming, which is good. Yes, they have to do that. But the IT world, while teaching that, if a particular programmer is talking about writing a program for a reputed air conditioning manufacturer, that particular programmer must be taught what an air conditioning process is. Okay. So till such time that is not happening, we will have this gap.
Okay. Yes, sir. So moving on to the next question, we have from Mr. Shivakumar Vaidyanathan. IoT needs analytic layer that would require immense data mining of existing data, but unfortunately does not capture all the data. But unfortunately does not capture all the data. That's what I feel, what it has been mentioned.
Okay, yeah. I mean, data capturing is only the amount of investment that we have to do. If we can capture any amount of data, okay. But I use the word judicious use of data. That also I used in one of the presentation. Sometimes we collect too much data and we don't use 90% of it. Instead of that, use 30 out of 100 data and use 25 of them.
Correct.
Okay, that will give a better solution.
Better solution. And then from Sampath Kumar, you mentioned Naishika, thanks for the excellent enlightenment. Yes, it was a very nice program. We agree. So one from Mr. Sanju Santanan. Nowadays, everything is going to cloud with IoT. Do you think the BMS software also will get moved to cloud, where the sensor will get connected directly to the software in cloud and control the output devices like actuator and VAV?
It is already there.
Okay. Hope that has answered your question, Mr. Sanju. Yeah. And then Mr. Sriram mentioning that many of the established players are still with cable.
Consultants are trying to change this scene. Yes, some vendors are definitely offering with cable. Okay. Consultants are changing the scene, trying to use IP network. But IP network as a minimum at this stage is still required.
Yes. Then one from Mr. Shamanna Venkatesh. Why cost of field devices and cabling is too high? Do we have economical solutions?
That unfortunately the vendors only can answer this question. How much margin and how much overheads they have. Field devices costly and cabling is too high. Cost of cabling is too high. Okay. Cabling is required. Sensors field devices are required. Why they are pricing it so high, I do not know.
Fine, sir. We'll repack it there. And from Mr. Atul Rao, application of IoT to chiller plant management for energy efficiency use case was very well explained. Yeah, okay. It looks like a dedicated session can be allocated to this topic itself from energy optimization perspective.
Can be done. Chiller sequencing can go for 2-3 hours. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think that is a request. We'll think about from Mr. Panel chapter. We'll look into this definitely. And then from once again from Sampath Kumar, the challenge we face today is speed of internet, and this poses serious connectivity challenges. Is there any breakthrough in this regards?
This is again our broadband availability only. We can't comment anything on this. There are countries which offer very high speeds of communication. There are countries which offer lower than ours.
Okay.
We have to live with a scenario that is beyond our control.
Okay. And then the next one from Mr. Shamanna Venkatesh again. A retrofitment is too cumbersome in a running system. Is there any method for seamless retrofitment?
The answer is in two parts. It can never be seamless. Retrofitting is more cumbersome than doing automation for a new building. That is established, certainly. The other thing is when we are doing retrofitment, we have to do phase wise. If you plan it phase wise, then we can do a certain amount of, definitely we can achieve it if you take step by step, but heavy planning is required and there cannot be a very tight constraint on time. Then there is a tendency for cutting corners.
Okay. And then from Mr. Veeram Mahindran, he has requested HU optimization and chiller optimization. We need the documentation and guidance reference. Probably that we can, from the Easter Bank chapter, there are a lot of documents available. This will support from the IBC. And then from Sanju Santanan, for a suitable IoT in BMS, the BMS infrastructure has to be strong. But is the BMS infrastructure strong enough? As I know, most of the BMS don't work to 100% most facilities.
I told you this has to come sometime or the other. The
Yeah.
BMS will work only to the extent it is commissioned.
Yeah.
That means the BMS is a fantastic product. It is a fantastic concept. Absolutely, there is no doubt about it. The BMS companies are giant companies by their own standards. They don't compromise on the product manufacturer or R&D. How we use it, if we use it stupidly, we get a stupid system. If we use it smartly, we get a smart system.
Yeah, right, sir. So I think that is the
yeah.
Good answer. Then from Mr. Atul Rao, any articles or resources to better understanding the emerging concepts of IoT, BMS and applications to energy use or optimization? Please suggest.
Plenty is available on the internet. There is nothing specific. ASHRAE and RISHRAE platforms are, there are journals and articles that are coming up in RISHRAE journals also, which can help. And the internet is a very enormous source of information anyway.
Yeah. And then one from Shiv Kumar, anomaly, if I'm pronouncing right, detection like you mentioned, rogue number 4 would not be possible without having historic data that gives pattern of learning. So I think AL and ML cannot do much if the data are not consistent or not reported correctly. Today, the peripheral is data are still manually recorded and BMS lacks the complete data gathering.
BMS does not lack the complete gathering. This is again a misconception. BMS has, we have done project more than 17 years ago where the data is still reporting. 17 years ago. Okay. We have got the data, we have got customized reports still giving data for each chiller. So it is how you use the BMS. If the BMS is not maintained properly, if the spares are not done, and then the technology is also evolving. Imagine using a 17-year-old controller in today's scenario. It is a relic controller. So constant upgrades are required. Electronics is going at a rate which is unimaginably fast. Sometimes we might have to invest in a certain change in firmware and things like that. This has to happen. Otherwise, we will not derive the benefits that the BMS is supposed to give. So just to say that BMS does not work or BMS lacks this thing, I don't agree. As I told you, with an 8-bit processor, they went to the moon. With an 8-bit processor, we cannot imagine that. Burj Al Arab, not the Burj Khalifa. I'm talking about Burj Al Arab. The entire automation, which at that time had some 38,000 data points, was commissioned on MS-DOS. Nobody knows MS-DOS today. Was commissioned on MS-DOS, believe me, the BMS. So it is how you make the system work.
Okay. Yeah, then moving on to the, Sanjay Santan, thanks Ram for the clarification. Yes, thanks. And then from Nagarjun Reddy, we have one question mentioning CFD analysis in air conditioning area are not being used like basement ventilation. Any reason?
No, can be used, sir. Can be used.
Okay, so not being used, but maybe for some reason it's not being used.
Yeah. Today with BIM and things like it can be used. Even in the past, it has been used.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, yeah, one more question from Mr. Veer Mahindran. I find a gap between BMS vendor and HVC vendor. What are the documents need to ask to HVC vendor or consultant? Example, heat load, airflow calculations, etc.
Excellent question.
Yeah.
The
So
right answer is ISHRE. There is a course called Advanced Engineering Diploma course in ISHRE. If anybody is interested, this is a in-house course which is 360 hours. It is a fantastic course that can the ISHRE is promoting this course. If anybody has to master the total HVAC plus the BMS thing, that is the forum. I don't know of any other forum which blends both the HVAC and the automation to the level that ISHRE is providing as a platform.
great, sir, great. And now one last question.
Bangalore, by the way, is the pioneer in AEDC.
Yes. So
Yes.
since we're running out of time, one last question just to squeeze in from Mr. Shamanna. Please name few best IBMS vendors. That's what he has mentioned.
In this forum, we cannot
correct.
name names, so I would rather skip.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that would be because this is the forum probably. Maybe what would request the participants or the members joined in today, they can reach out to the speaker through email, so which we can we'll be sharing. And yes, thank you, Mr. Shekhar sir. It was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you. So 1 minute, one Mr. Veera Mahendran has asked one more question. Free cooling. Free cooling is used in Bangalore. Many consultants use this.
Yes.
Many consultants don't use this also, but there are consultants who use this free cooling concept. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Before that, sir, Girish, can you please share the certificate of appreciation from the ISHRE Bangalore chapter? We have a small moment, sir. Yeah. So once again, on behalf of ISHRE Bangalore chapter, sir, I take this opportunity to thank you for the wonderful session. And it was really great, for all of us had a wonderful learning out of this session. And I believe everyone who has joined in, so a strength of more than 50 people, it was really nice. We had a very good learning out of this. And we thank you once again, sir, for a wonderful.
Thank you very much, Bangalore chapter. It was a pleasure to be of assistance to ISHRE. My best wishes to all the participants, and get cured from whatever ailments you are having, and let the world get rid of COVID as early as possible. My prayers.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. And thank all these members who have logged in, the participants logged in for the Friday evening. And thank you for the time provided. And it was really nice. Thank you all. And good night from.
Good night.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, Veda, also for the product presentation. Thank you. Thank you all once again.